All right. Hey guys, take two.
Welcome to Fuck Being Perfect.
We are your hustlin' honeys,
I'm Dee.
and I'm Kat.
Yeah. So quick little stint about me. I'm Dee. I'm 25. I am so fucking awkward. I'm so fucking awkward. Apparently, I can't talk about myself. I'm a fucking receptionist, I guess. I fucking in my 20s, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing for the most part. But I
Okay.
too real.
That's like, all right, guys, I'm a fucking receptionist. I'm in my 20s. I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. If that isn't the realest shit ever, like, oh my god.
I mean, shit, yeah, that's it. I'm, like what I've been in college for like 7 years, can't get a degree yet, but I'm a smart ass bitch.
Yes,
Just
you are.
not on paper, but it's all up here, and I believe it. That's all that matters. Take it away.
No.
I'm just kidding. No, I'm awesome. I'm a bomb ass bitch.
Maybe
I got.
You want to restart?
No, why don't we keep this? No, I think we should. Is the existential dread jumping out right now?
We're having a midlife crisis moment.
But that's real, and fuck being perfect.
That
but
is
no,
true.
for real. But nah, I'm 25. I'm a receptionist. And like pretty much I'm here because I'm ready to be a bomb ass woman, and to be the bomb ass woman that I wish I had when I was a kid. So
I love that. I love that. You know what? That was funny. I like it. I do like it.
Thank you.
I don't know if I can top it, but I love it.
So, you girl.
I'm Kat. A lot of you who watch this and me, like my name is Caitlin. That is my name. But I said to Dee, like, I don't know, a month ago, I was like, I think I just need to switch it up and idolize myself for a second and make myself a role model and be like, this version of me is. So I gave myself a nickname. That's really all it is. But I have two dogs. I have two dogs, Sunny and Moon. I love them. I'm obsessed with them. I have an amazing husband. We're coming up on 3 years of marriage, which we're super excited to celebrate. I manage a restaurant. That's a topic for a different day. But I'm very excited to be here. Dee and I have played with this idea for months now, talking, planning, just last year, those of you who followed us in our Hustlin' Honeys journey, we started this last year. Dee and I met 2 years ago. Yeah. I think when we did this on Monday, I said that we met through, I don't know, but no, because it was after 2020
though, right?
No, it was after the pandemic. So I think early 2021, maybe. We had connected on Instagram and it was very surface level. Like we'd like each other's stuff, we'd hype each other up, whatever. And as the months and the year had gone by, we really learned a lot about each other. We had a ton in common. But last year when we did this, it was completely different. We were trying to run a Facebook group. We were still figuring ourselves out. And if we're being honest, we weren't being as authentic with ourselves, not intentionally, but we just weren't showing up in the ways that we needed to for ourselves. So, last year when we did this, we had great intentions, but the follow through just wasn't there because we weren't where we needed to be. So a year later, we are so excited and just thrilled and honored for those of you who have still followed this journey personally, Dee's friends and family and her social media peeps and, peeps, like what the fuck? I literally haven't said that since I was like 13. But and the people who have followed me and supported me, like we wouldn't, we would still be us but we wouldn't be here and we wouldn't be as excited and just ready for this next journey to start. So our attention this time is just a lot of podcasts, making connections, talking to people. And our main goal is to really just, even if it's one person, help one woman or man, learn to trust themselves and love themselves and there's my husband, learn from us, because we've been through a lot. But D, you talk, because I'm just fucking rambling.
Yeah, I mean, we're here. We're just like your two best friends that after a long day or the beginning of your day, you just chill and listen to us talk our shit. And be crazy ass bitches. So I hope y'all are ready for that fucking ride.
Yeah. But this is like every morning. Every morning we do
literally
this.
Every morning we send each other voice memos. Like we'll wake up at fucking like 5 a.m. in the morning, sending like 5-minute, 7-minute long voice memos, like talking our shit.
And if it's 10 minutes, like we'll be like I'll hear her at the end be like, all right, bitch, this is like 10 minutes and 46 seconds long. So if you're still listening to this, and that's how this podcast was born, because when we stopped last year with Hustlin' Honeys, it just, and the other thing too is, like we talked on Monday, we weren't as close and connected as we are now. Like last year I was struggling with so many things that I just couldn't be forward with. So was I. Yeah. Right. Like I just couldn't even be honest with myself about where I was and what I was struggling with. And with, the previous occupation I had working for a fitness company, I felt like it was such a facade. I had to put on this smile. And if I wasn't feeling my best self, or, what it's like when you wake up and you're fucking feeling yourself. If I wasn't feeling that version of myself, I just wasn't showing up. I acted like the day didn't matter. My, the habits I was trying to kick, I was still going after. Like, it was like, if it wasn't great, I don't fucking want it. And a year later I can sit there and I can tell Dee in the morning, like, hey, I'm struggling with this. This is where I'm at. This is what I'm feeling. This is what's on my mind. And it doesn't stop my day. My day continues. It just looks a little different than a typical day would. Right. But that's how it started, is we were bullshit and we were like, why don't we just do a podcast? Like, we do this every morning. Why not just let other people listen?
Quite literally. And I feel like the issue with last year too is that we wouldn't really do anything unless we're showing up as our best selves. And the difference about this time is just we're showing up no matter what, because that's just fucking life. Like, you got to show up regardless. Yeah. So like, I just love that. And I think it's so much realer this time, because last year was real, but I think this is the realest we could ever fucking get.
It's the most authentic versions of ourselves to date,
100%.
It really is. So like I said earlier, and Dee's along with me, we are just so honored to even be here and be able to do this, because it took a while to get us to this point, and I'm really, really proud, because Hustlin' Honeys last year, it was so exciting. And every morning we would be like, we are Good Morning America worthy. One day this is going to take us, so many places. And when it fell off, like, it kind of felt like that was something too, that like Hustlin' Honeys at that point, it was the only thing motivating me. So when that fell off, it was kind of like, okay, well, now there's nothing. So I definitely didn't expect us to be here. We'd say to each other, we'll get it back up and running when we're ready. But then when it was real, when it was like, all right, fuck it, I don't care what I'm struggling with, what I'm going through, it's time to really put myself out there, because that is life, is just showing up from where you are right now, not putting on a facade, not pretending like things are okay. It just feels so much different this go around.
100%.
Yeah.
So with that being said, do you want to dive into today's topic, or do you want to give like a little background of kind of what inspired Hustlin' Honeys to become, like kind of where we come from in our childhoods and stuff like that?
Yeah, no, we could totally do that, because that will definitely tie into our topic of today, which is body acceptance.
100%. Do you want me to start? You want to start?
No, you start. Take it away.
Okay, word. So I mean, with me, I come from a Jamaican household. Traditionally my parents are immigrants, and they're hard workers, you know what I mean? And with that, I feel like disclaimer, really fucking grateful, not shitting on my family, but I think a lot of the times my parents focused so hard on working hard that I kind of felt neglected emotionally at times. And they were just trying to provide a good life for me, the life they never got to have. But I just didn't have I didn't have family dinners growing up, which led to me kind of getting to where I'm at today, because I would have so much freedom eating the foods that I do and eating the amounts that I do, because, I didn't have a family dinner. I didn't have, my parents sitting with me at the table dishing out my food. It was me dishing out my own food. Not to mention, because there was no family dinners, my parents had to cook in bulk on weekends. So we had a shit ton of food throughout the week. And that gave me an endless, unlimited amount of food to eat from. So that's kind of where everything came from. I didn't really go out much because, my parents were working and they just didn't trust me being out there without guidance. So I was just stuck at home alone. So I didn't really have that after school life. I didn't have the sports. I didn't have the extracurricular activities. So everything was just kind of about being at home, sitting in front of the TV, eating food.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where I come from in my childhood. And growing up, I always knew I was the biggest one in the classroom, but it didn't really affect me until the other kids started pointing that out.
Yeah.
I have been bullied countless times, but at the same time, I feel like I'm an extremely nice person. I'm an empathetic person, and I'm too understanding, I feel, because people would bully me and I would just excuse their behavior, because I'm always like, well, they must be going through something, they needed to get that out. I'm top tier. I'm like that. Even at this age, people will treat me like shit, and I'll excuse their behavior. I'll be like, well, they're probably going through something. And that's cool and everything, but I go through a lot of fucking shit, but you don't see me treating people like shit.
No, I completely agree.
So that's just where, that came from. And so with that, I'm not confrontational. So if you make fun of me, I'm not going to stand up for myself. I'm literally just going to sit there and take it, because I don't see the point in me fighting it.
Are you afraid?
So yeah, definitely. I would definitely fearful, because it's one thing if you say something to me and I say something back and I finally stand up for myself. If you fucking retaliate though, I'm tapping out.
That's what I was gonna say when you were talking about being bullied in school. I wasn't. That's what I was afraid of. I was afraid of, because when you're fat, the only comeback or rebuttal that people have is, well, you're fat. So for me, and even to this day, I am so afraid of someone just pointing out the obvious that I do bite my tongue if I feel like if I were thinner, I would feel more confident saying it, because then what? They're gonna call me ugly? Well, I know I'm not ugly.
Right. Period.
Period. So that was I was just so afraid of being insulted that I allowed myself to be disrespected.
Exactly, because it feels like adding fuel to the fire almost if you try to fight back. And that's just kind of where I came from. Even sitting here, I'm thinking of all the countless times that I've been bullied, and the times that I sat there and I took it, and that shit ate me alive. I'm not gonna fucking lie, it did eat me alive a lot of the times. But me personally, I always turn to music. I'll never forget one time I was really being bullied bad, and literally they had to send me home from school because it was that bad. And my mother, my sweet mother, I love her. It's like a rocky relationship, but at the end of the day, she's really got my back. She's just a tough love woman. But she went out and she bought me $100 iTunes gift card, because she knew music was the other than food, music was the outlet. Exactly. And those songs that I bought with that gift card, I literally have on a playlist and I hold on dearly, because I think that was the one time in my life I felt the most seen by anybody. Was so when sweet. My mother did that. Yeah, because that's it for me. So music is the outlet.
I know you, so, and I will tell me if I'm wrong, but I feel for us, our love language is words of affirmation and physical touch. Where 100%. Your mom and my grandmom, the thing that they have in common, I don't want to speak for your mom, but my grandmom is so rough around the edges and very, very direct, very opposite of me. And it's they are I'm going to show you I love you by actions. And for me, 100%. At least, it doesn't always feel like love. But I think for them, it really genuinely comes from a place of love.
100%. My mom is like she's definitely the acts of service. That's how she shows love. So it's like, I'm not going to tell you I love you. I'm not going to hug you. I'm not going to do all that, but I keep a roof over your head. I provide for you, you know, stuff like that. So it took a very, very long time. And like, I probably not until fucking this year, I finally like grew to accept that and understand that, you know, she's never gonna have that unless like throughout the year she does heal a little bit and maybe come to it.
Be like when you have kids.
I was gonna say, I was like, watch, when I have kids, you're gonna be the softest woman ever. You're gonna be like the woman that I wished I had when I was growing up as a kid. And like, it is what it is. If my kids get that, at least I finally get to see my mom in that light. You know what I mean?
Definitely.
So I'll take it, but it took me a very long time to understand that love language that she has. And even in general in my life, like I feel like love languages is a huge thing. And I'm just now understanding and learning that like the way that I show love, other people aren't going to show that back to me in the same way. They're going to show it in different ways, in ways that they're capable of showing it. So definitely that adds to it.
Definitely. And I think for me, it's hard because the, you know, physical touch and the words of affirmation were things that I really, really needed in my childhood. So as an adult, like when I don't get them, it's almost like I start spiraling, you know, like if Max is super busy and, you know, I feel like my emotional needs aren't being met, I immediately think like, he hates me. What did I do wrong? You know, why do I feel this way? And really, it's just like, he just worked 14 hours and his body is like dead right now.
Right.
But it's like there's this such anxiety and fear from being a child who was raised to feel unlovable and unwanted. And, you know, just it takes a lot for my adult self to reparent my inner child and tell her like, no, you are safe. No, you are loved. And then like when I share with Max, like, hey, this is where I'm at. He does like, this is like, I love him so much for this. He'll drop what he's doing to reassure the fact that you are safe and you are loved. And I'm sorry that I didn't do something little today to make you feel that way, you know? So I do feel super validated because we met when we just turned 20. So when we were 20, our relationship looks so much different than it does at 26 because we're able to say those things without taking it personally, without victimizing ourselves for not meeting each other's needs. So that took a long time just because of how we both grew up. It's like something we had to break. So
I'm single as fuck. If anyone was wondering, I never said anything about my relationship.
Yeah, if anybody wants to take her on a date.
But all right, just to clarify, single, ready to mingle.
Cheers to that.
Period. But yeah.
No, I love that, and thank you for sharing and being vulnerable because I know that's not always easy to do.
Not really.
Yeah,
but thank you.
Really. So for me, you know, with my biggest thing in this mind, body, soul journey is the food aspect, the way that I, you know, shove my feelings down by like eating and zoning out. And for me, my childhood was just so inconsistent. So like my mom had me when she was just turning 16. So she was super, super young. My mom's family and my dad's family came from two different sides of the world. You know, on the one side you had a family that grew up through the projects and didn't really have much, lived in the city. And then from the other side, you have a family who, you know, grew up on the Roosevelt Boulevard, super nice big home, moved into the suburbs once her kids were a little bit older. And then, you know, my dad met my mom. I think through high school, they both went to the same high school, but my dad was older than my mom. So growing up with my mom, I lost my dad really young. I was turning 4 that summer. So it was really hard growing up without a father figure. And when my grandparents eventually got custody of my sister and I, my grandfather really became that like safe haven, safe space for me. And when I got taken from my mom gave us up, but when the shift happened, it was so hard for me to let my grandmom in. And I didn't realize it at the time, but now that I'm an adult and I reflect and I look back on the way that I was just, you know, we were both just so cold towards each other. I think she wanted this version of me that I just couldn't be. And I wanted this version of her that she just couldn't be. I think that we both have a lot of love for each other, but it was just so hard for us to not go like this. And I think, you know, my dad had this, from what I've heard about him, this very like badass, defiant attitude. I'm not going to listen to anybody. I don't gotta fucking, you know, do what you say. And I have that. I do that. And I think I have my mom's loud mouth. And that's something I heard a lot growing up, is like, oh, you sound like your mother. You sound like, it was such a bad thing. But I took it like, yeah, I sound like my mom, just because it was the only thing that connected me to her.
Right.
So, you know, growing up with my mom, there was never any food in the house. We didn't have anything. And when we did have something, it was almost like you had to sneak it or you weren't going to get it. So when I moved in with my grandparents, the other thing, disclaimer, is like, they're generations apart, you know? So they didn't know necessarily how to handle things, because when they grew up, it was more of a, children are seen and not heard, and children don't suffer with anxiety, and children don't have depression, and, you know, you're going to speak when spoken to. So I wasn't raised like that with my mom. I mean, I really wasn't raised with my mom. I was the oldest of 4 children, taking care of them. So when I moved to my grandparents, there was really never any, that I can recall, discussion about like, okay, Jesse and my sister Jessica, Jesse and Caitlin went through something super traumatic. Like, they need guidance, they need help, they need understanding, they need compassion. It was just immediately like, oh, you're sneaking food at night? Okay, we're going to put a lock on the cabinet. We're not going to talk about why you're sneaking it. We're not going to make it a comfortable situation to eat food when you're hungry. We're just going to take it away from you. So as, you know, those kind of things continued, by the time I was able to, you know, get my first job and have a car and spend my own money, I would starve myself all day at home, afraid to go downstairs and have a comment made about what I was going to eat, that I would, you know, after my shift at Wawa, either buy food from there or stop and get food and shove it in my purse. And like, I remember getting home late at night, because I was working second shift and third shift, and my grandma being like, oh, I hear crinkling in your purse. What's in your purse? You're gonna go up to your bed and stuff your face. And it's just like, I think about those things now that I'm an adult, and I could never imagine making like anybody. Sorry.
You're good.
Anybody, especially my children, feel that way. But like, if my kid had to sneak food, I would want to know why. I would want to know what I'm not doing as a parent and what I could be doing to help them, because that's my job. And it's something that still, like, you can tell, like, it deeply affects me to this day, because I just so badly wanted a mom to tell me. I don't, at this point, you know, even like as an adult, like, I don't even care who it was. I didn't care if it was an aunt or, you know, my grandmom or great grandmom, or I didn't care who it was. I just, like, as weird as it sounds, I just wanted like a motherly figure to hold me and tell me it was going to be okay.
Right.
It was super easy for me to connect with my grandfather on a different level, because I knew my dad was dead. There was no one that I was replacing. But as the oldest child, someone who took care of my mom for 10 years, I felt an obligation to hold space for her and to protect her, because I genuinely thought she was going to come back. So it's just something that really spiraled into my adulthood. There's a lot of trauma that I'm still getting in tune with. I think for so long, I just told myself, like, it's okay. I forgive everything. I forgive everyone. And while I try not to hold on to negativity and toxicity and things that keep me up at night, it is hard to shake the feeling that the things I needed as a child, I wasn't given. So it's this constant push and pull of, am I caring too much? Am I not caring enough? Am I putting on a show? Because for so long, I just didn't know how to let myself feel without eating the pain away. So now that's what I'm trying to work on, is just getting my relationship with food under control and not using, it's like anytime a stressful situation comes up, I turn to food. I don't stop to reflect. There is no pause on me. It's just go, 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 go until I'm completely burnt out. And then I shut the world out and act like I don't have any responsibilities. And then like, it's like I'm manic or something.
Right.
I've
been thinking about that
so it's
lately.
Like, yeah, like it's hard to self-regulate. But so I would say 2 or 3 years ago, I always knew, not to sound cocky or anything, but like, I just knew that I wasn't meant for this. not this, but the way I grew up, the cards I was given, the shitty fucking people in my life. I just knew that I was meant. Why is my Siri was going off? I just knew I was meant to break a cycle. And a couple years ago, that's what I decided I wanted to do. I want to be the mother who never ever makes her child guess if they're going to come home, if they're going to show up to pick them up from school, if they love them. Like, that's just not even going to be a thing. I'm going to make it my mission to heal my relationship with food, because A, I deserve to, and B, it needs to stop with me. The addictions that run through my families, whether it's alcohol or drugs or food or gambling, it has to stop with me. So that's what I really think I'm put on this earth to do, is to just end it. And then, you know, I decided 2.5 years ago that I was going to start a Instagram account, and I was going to make it private because I was afraid that people from my high school would find me and make fun of me. And I just wanted it to be like my little corner of Instagram. And then I found this like online fitness company, and I thought it was like the best thing in the fucking world. Turned out to be a complete shit show. And I became a coach for them before I found out it was a complete shit show. And this is the only good thing that came out of that entire experience, was the fact that someone had encouraged me to make my journey public. Because even if someone laughs, and even if someone has something to say, even if I get 12 likes, you know, like I just heard, I think it was I don't want to say this wrong, but I think it was a podcast with Lindsay Lohan. And she was saying like, okay, so what, you get 60 likes, you know, you look like, oh, well, this person gets 1,000, this person gets 25,000, this person gets 100,000, and over here they have 1 million. But what if 60 people came up to you in public and gave you a compliment? That's a lot of people. There's a lot of value in that. There's a lot of value in one person. So I opened it up despite the fact that I was nervous. And I met so many amazing people, and I was able to express myself and be more vulnerable than ever. And if I didn't do that, I wouldn't have met Dee, and I wouldn't have learned about her and her journey, and we would have never connected. And the fact that I did that and someone encouraged me to do that, that allowed a doorway that the universe opened for her and I to create this exact platform.
Exactly. I even remember the morning that like you messaged me on Instagram when you were like leaving, and you were like losing your shit. And I will never forget that moment, because like that was like when we really like connected truly for the first time. Yeah. And like I'm always so grateful that like you turned to me that morning and you like popped off, because like that was bomb. That was, I don't know.
That was the morning that started the Voice Memo podcast.
Literally.
Despite it was literally like 4:30 in the morning, and I was like, I'm fucking done. I can't do this anymore. Literally. I can't live like this. Like, I'm tired of getting jobs and working for somebody and depending on them to treat me with respect and not take advantage of my time and not take advantage of my energy and not take advantage of my effort. Why am I doing it? Like, we are meant to lead. We are meant to teach, to change a life. I don't care if it's one. I don't care if one person sees this and is like, this made me feel better tonight. Right. I'm glad I can relate to this. I'm glad that there's someone out there that not like, oh yeah, you know, I want you to feel shitty, but like I felt so alone for so long because I was afraid to open up and be vulnerable and be honest about the things that I struggle with and the things that keep me up at night. And once I learned to do that, I was able to feel like I had a community. And like you said Monday night, to feel like a sisterhood, that you had people that you could connect to that understand what your struggles are. Yeah. So with that being said, last week, I don't even know what week it is. The last week of October, like the full week of October, that was Body Acceptance Week. And, you know, from what we've shared tonight, you can tell that it's something that we've both struggled with. Excuse me. I like can't catch my breath. But it's a passion. It really is. I was on a roll. So last week of October, Body Acceptance Week, and it's something that both Dee and I have struggled with, and we still have our moments with it. So we thought that we would talk a little bit about that tonight. And hopefully some of you resonate with what we're saying, because I would say over the last couple of years, the body positivity and acceptance movement has gotten so big. And a lot of people are definitely getting on the bandwagon of accepting people just as they are and the size that they are right now. So I had 2 questions I wrote down. So well, like, okay, so like, let's start with like, what is body positivity and what does it mean to us? Do you want to start off, D?
Yeah, I mean, body positivity to me, body positivity is pretty much just loving and accepting your body the way that it is, no matter how big or small you are, in every form that you're in. You know, like, for example, like me now, like accepting, like, there's like a fucking pimple on my chest right now. I don't know why it's there, but I'm gonna love it and I'm gonna embrace it. And just because I'm gonna rock with it, it's just there. Like the cellulite, the scars, everything. Just really being able to look in the mirror and, like, even if I don't 100% love what I see in the mirror, accepting it and being like, you know what, it's still beautiful regardless. So that is body positivity to me, and to me, honest, it keeps me going, because if I didn't have that every day, I would just be fully on distracted with those thoughts of like what I look like in the world. Like when I step out and I walk into a store, are people staring me down being like, look at this fucking freak? Like, I had to remove myself from that shit, because that shit was driving me fucking crazy. And it wasn't until probably like a year or so ago that I finally like let go of that, because I'll be honest, I'll be real, like I even still struggle with it now and then, like when it comes to like dating and stuff and like dealing with guys, where I'm just like, am I pretty enough? Like, am I beautiful enough? Is like my hair long enough? Which obviously I don't have much going on right now, but like it's like the need to kind of morph myself into what I think somebody else would like from me visually. And I stopped doing that shit. That's why I like shave my head and stuff, and I don't wear makeup as much as I used to anymore, because I'm done trying to morph myself into the picture that I think society wants from me. I'm just being unapologetically me. And that's where I'm at. What about you?
That's beautiful.
Thank you.
It's a hard topic for me because I ebb and I flow. I think that growing up in the household that I grew up in, accepting my body wasn't really a choice. It was more of a, this is not how you're supposed to look.
Right.
Nobody, I shared this with you on Monday. Growing up, I would get this question. Well, first I would be told, like, pull your shirt down. No one wants to see that. Like legitimately, if I'm gonna stand up, if my shirt, like, so like my shirt's like this, it would be like, pull it down all the way down. Nobody wants to see it. And it's like, I'm thinking, like, first of all, I didn't fucking know it looked like that. Second of all, I'm not asking anyone to look at it. And third of all, I was comfortable and confident and content in this moment before this incident happened. So that's the first thing. I would get a lot of like, oh, you're gonna wear that. Or I got this a lot, like, you care so much about your hair and makeup, but you don't care about the way your body looks. Like that stung. But the thing that I think, like, the one comment that really stuck with me and hurt the most would be like, I would get the look up and down, the head tilt. Don't you want to be happy? And I would be like, what do you mean? And can you hear her barking?
Again, but it's fine.
Fuck being perfect. I have 2 fucking dogs in a 940 square foot apartment. There's not much I can do right now. But I lost my train of thought. I'm sorry. So again, look up and down. Don't even be happy. And I would say, like, well, like, what do you mean? And this was in the beginning. This was like in the very beginning of, like, it was like the 3rd or 4th time it was said to me. And I would be like, well, what do you mean? And it would be, well, your weight, your size. Like, how could you be happy when you look like that? And like, even when I say it, like, oh, my stomach just sinks. Because no one stopped to ask, like, are you happy? Like, because as if my size, and some days it does, some days the way that I view myself because of things that were put into my head, it does weigh on me. But essentially, why should my size or the number on the scale or the photo, the measurements why does that define my happiness? Why does that
Right.
measure my happiness? So when you're that young, 10, 11, 12, 13, all the way up until you're 16, 17, 18, 19, before you're out of the house, it's kind of like, well, that has to be my thought process, because you grow up in these four walls, for years, and that's what you're taught to think and taught to feel and taught how you should look. And the motherly role that I had in my house was very small and very petite, short woman, petite size. So then you have me, and I'm like, 5'5", and it just wasn't, it was just so vastly different. So body positivity over the years has really, like you were saying, just accepting for what I feel that day. Some days I wake up and I'm bloated due to my period, or I ate too much the night before, or, I have a skin condition, rosacea. Sometimes that flares up because of the things I eat or the stress that I put myself through. And it's just kind of, I wake up and I look at myself, and it may not be the version of me that I want to see in the mirror, or it may not be the version of me that I want to feel. But in that moment, I look at myself and I have to accept that this is who I am today. This is the version that I am today. Because at the end of the day, like, yeah, all the shitty things that have been said to me put me in this predicament per se, but I have to be the one to change that. And if I can't look at myself and accept that that's where I'm at, why would I expect anybody else to? Why would I expect anybody to give me any grace or kindness or compassion if I can't be the first one to do it? Because we teach people how to treat us. We teach people how to love us. And if we can't show up and know that no matter what we look like in that moment, our worth is still worthy, why does it matter?
Right.
So, like for you, where did your negative self-talk kind of start and end? Or, I mean, I know that we still struggle with it, but the bulk of it, the harshness of it.
Honestly, shit. I mean, thinking back to where it started, I mean, like I said, I've been big my whole life. I think, when I was a kid, when I started getting, bigger and bigger, and I would go to the doctor's appointments, and, my doctor would be like, you're obese and yada, yada, yada. And that's when the weight loss talk would come in. And I was even looking at my record, because I have the portal now for like my shit. And I drove myself crazy the other day, and I was like looking at, like, there's a specific like section for weight, and I was scrolling and scrolling, and I was looking at my weight at every single visit, all the way back to when I was like, literally from when I was fucking born. And I just remember watching like the weight climb and climb and climb. And like, while most people will be like, oh, well, what was she eating? What was she doing? Da, da, da. Like what I was thinking about was like, I was looking at the dates, and I was like, what happened to me at these times that caused me to kind of grow up the scale like that? Because there was some drastic jumps, and I was like, oh, well, this is when my dad, his heart, he had an aortic aneurysm. And that was a major jump. Like I gained like 30 pounds, I think, in that year. That was like kind of when I was forced to grow up, when his aorta bursted, because, I learned at a very young age that life is precious. Life can be taken from you. And I think with that, it forced me to be more mature than everybody else, because I was like,
you had to grow up quicker.
Exactly. When people would like talk shit to their parents, or like, be the sassy teenager, I was never that teenager, because I was like, I know I could lose my father at any fucking moment. Which I did lose him at 20, but that's like a whole different realm. But with that, so I look at me going off track.
It's both of us. But it's the Virgo in us.
Literally. Exactly. I'm like going through fucking hoops right now. But
like 6 times during this, I was like, what am I fucking talking about?
Right. I was like, what was the original fucking topic?
Yes, literally. When you were like, do you want to share? I was like panicking. I was like, what was it? I had to look down. What's it?
I can't. It's a fucking mess, but it's real. It's real, and I love it. And it's good conversation no matter what, even if it's off topic. So I love to see it. But body positivity. Yes. So when I was a kid, it was definitely the weight loss talk at every single appointment. And of course, every single appointment, I started gaining weight and gaining weight and gaining weight. So like the conversation became like more and more like the main thing. And it, came back home, and it's like, my parents tried to change my diet and make me exercise. And mind you, I didn't do sports. I didn't do extracurricular activities. I feel like if I had at least done sports as a kid, things could have been a little bit more different, because knowing myself as an adult, I am like not lazy. I love the gym. I'll go to the gym for like 2-3 hours, not because I'm trying to fucking kill myself, but quite literally because I'm enjoying myself. I fucking love that shit. And I think if I had the opportunity as a kid to be active, I wouldn't be obese today, to be like quite frank with you. But that's just kind of like where it started. And I feel like when it came to the talk of me losing weight, I feel like the approach of helping me to lose weight wasn't like the right approach. You know, it was more like shaming me almost for eating certain things. And I still get the shame to this day. Like if I go to grab a Rice Krispie treat, I hear, are you supposed to be eating that?
Yeah.
Like a fucking Rice Krispie treat's not gonna make me gain 30 pounds, but go off.
Are you supposed to be minding your business?
Right, literally. And I'm like, the fuck? And it's like, people are always in fat people's business. Like you can't do anything if you're even slightly chubby. Like, bitch, mind your fucking business.
I know.
Like, it's fucking crazy. But that's like where it started with, you know? And it's like, I tried Weight Watchers as a kid.
But
and like
see,
that shit was
shaming. That shaming leads to closeted eating, which leads to binging.
100%.
Like,
and let me tell you, let me fucking tell you. And it's funny because my mom reminded me the other day about this, because I used to get like rolls of quarters for Christmas from like my extended family. And
that's an interesting gift.
when I didn't question it. And I had a lot. I mean, because extended family. And I got a lot of them shits, and I never knew what the fuck to do with them until I truly understood what money was, probably like mid-elementary school. So my mom used to make me healthy lunches. My mom definitely was the healthy food influence. My dad was the bad food influence. And my mom would pack me healthy lunches. And because I'm usually with my dad most of the time, I want to be eating fucking McDonald's. And not only that, I want to be eating a shit ton of food. I want to, like, I thought I wasn't done eating until I was full. I thought it was normal. I used to think that I had to be uncomfortably full to be well fed, so to speak. So my mom would send me to school with lunch, and then I'd take these rolls of quarters and I would take them with me to lunch to buy more food. So I would have my lunch from home and I would go to the lunch ladies and I would buy more food. And my parents found that shit out when I had no more fucking rolls of quarters left. And that was where the shame really started. And it really, I don't know, it really impacted me, because I still kind of do that too at my grown ass age, where I kind of just hide out in my car anywhere but home, wherever I can have food on my own in private. I know. And that even happened when I had my first job too. My first job, I was making my $200 paychecks. I thought I was rolling in it. And those $200 paychecks, they were going straight to the McDonald's next door. So I used to get like, and I went crazy. I can't eat like this today, which is ironic, but I would get like a 20-piece nugget, a Big Mac, a quarter pounder, a large fry, and fucking 2 drinks. And I'd hammer that shit in a 30-minute break. I don't know how, but I would. But it was because my parents would try to restrict me from those things because I needed to lose weight. And so I was like, well, shit, I got my own money. I got my own car. Let me fucking go at it then. And I would feed myself the way that I wanted to be fed throughout the years. And when I think about weight loss, and I feel like, because I have BED, I feel like this is what triggers it too, because when I start to restrict myself and I tell myself, well, I can't have that, that's when I'm like, okay, I can't have this, so let me go fucking get like 20 amounts of it. You know what I mean? So that's kind of just like where it started. I think for me as a kid, the weight loss talk just triggered me to want to completely go against that, because I feel like when you tell anyone they can't do something, it makes you want to do it even more.
No, I'm the same way. I've always used the analogy, like, you know, the signs where it says don't touch wet paint. Like, I'm the person, I'll be like yes. Yeah. Just because you're telling me not to. It's kind of like you're younger and everybody knows this feeling. You're young and you think, I'm gonna clean my room. And then your mom or your grandmom or whoever comes upstairs and like, you need to clean your room. I'm not fucking cleaning it now. I don't want to clean it anymore. I had all the motivation in the world until you opened your mouth.
Yep. Literally. Girl.
Shit.
Shit. But yeah, that's kind of just like where it all came from, is really just like that toxic weight loss talk, the shame.
Yeah.
My parents would buy like bulk groceries, and so because of that, I had so much extra food in my house. I would take it, move it to my bedroom, shove it. You'd find the trash underneath my bed, like, and I still do that to this day.
And there would be times where I would come home, and it would be like, oh, it still makes me cringe. I would come home, and all the wrappers that I would shove and hide would be on my bed. And the fucked up part was there was never a conversation. There was never a, what's going on? What are you struggling with? It's like, it was sheerly, and it's kind of like, it's hard for me to say it wasn't malicious. I mean, like, I go back and forth in my head, like, no, it's not, but no, that's kind of malicious. Cause like, how malicious is it to see a fucking kid struggling, and instead of saying something, you're going to put all the wrappers on the bed. Like, I know what you did. I know what you did. And I want you to know that I know that you did it.
You saying that just triggered the fuck out of me, because my parents used to do that, and shit, my mom still fucking does that. I'm a fucking grown-ass woman. I'm 25, and like I'll go out and I'll get like, I don't know, like a little mini pizza or something, or like a pasta bowl from Domino's, and like I'll just put the box in the trash like a human being, because like at this point in my age, I'm like, I eat what I want. I'm gonna just throw it in the trash. I'm not gonna hide it, because I'm a fucking grown-ass adult. And I'll come home, and like that particular box that was at the bottom of the trash is now at the top. So when I open it,
but it's like, for what?
For what? I'm a grown-ass fucking woman.
But it's like you're intentionally digging through the trash to what? Like, it's almost like catching red-handed.
Always. And the next
day,
if
you wanted to hide it, you could put it in your fucking trunk and drive to work and throw it out there or anywhere else.
I just throw it in the trash because I don't care who the fuck sees, because like at least I'm eating. You know what I mean? And it's like, I'll even hear about it the next morning, like, oh, like, you had soda, you had this. Are you supposed to be having that? Are you supposed to be doing that? It's like, I'm 25. I shouldn't feel afraid to eat food. Like, so fucking what? Yeah. So fucking what? If I had a salad and put the salad container in the trash, would you have done that? No. It's like, that shit just pisses me off. So no, thank you for triggering me. No, for real.
I'm
like,
sorry.
I just need to remember. No, you're good. No, thank you for real. That wasn't like passive. That was like, thank you for reminding me.
Like, and then it's like, you talk about it, because for me, in the past, I have lived in states of avoidance. So like when you say, you know, you're at the doctor's and you're watching the number, for me, it was like when I started to get big, I just avoid it. I didn't go to family functions. I didn't go outside. I didn't put new clothes on or try new clothes, or I lived in the same, 3 pairs of shirts and the 4 pants and the 2 pajamas that I had that fit me. And I didn't touch the rest of my clothes in my closet. It was hard for me to take photos of myself that weren't a selfie. It was hard for me to take photos with other people. Like, there's 2 years in my marriage, or like 1 year dating, 1 year in my marriage, that I just don't have any photos with my husband at all, unless they're selfie photos, because I was embarrassed when he proposed to me, and people, because it was like public and people were saying congratulations. The only thing I could think wasn't like, oh my God, I'm a bride. It's, I am so much bigger than him. What if people start laughing at him? What if they say something to him? What if that makes him change his mind about me? And what, you sit here and you talk about your insecurities, and I talk about mine, and it's like, all of mine, at least, they stem from not feeling good enough as a child, not feeling worthy enough as a child. And now I have to coach my 26-year-old self and, say these affirmations to myself in the morning and journal and reassure myself, like, constantly, I am good enough. Even if people don't want me at their table, I don't need a seat there, and I don't want a seat there. I don't want to be the topic of conversation when I get up and I move.
Right.
And I have to learn that balance of respecting myself enough to know when it's time to shut the door, because people who love you and truly care about you, A, approach you with sensitivity about certain things like that, and B, they just accept you for who you are.
Right.
So for me, I definitely, with my body positivity or whatever, like, I just acted like it didn't exist because I didn't have any. And I, it was last night or the night before, I was thinking about for some reason I've been very nostalgic lately, getting a lot of like sense from my childhood, or I see something. Okay, so like earlier we're walking Moon and there's a huge pile of leaves across the street. And we don't typically go that way, but like I wanted to go that way because I wanted to kick the leaves and watch her chase them. And I was doing it, and I was looking down, and it's like for a split second, I felt like that little kid light up. Like that's what I used to do. You know, I used to play outside and I used to feel grounded and I used to touch the earth. And we're such a society that sits behind screens and lives on their phones and has to post every accomplishment. It's like, you know, even in my weight loss journey, it's like I post things on Instagram, and when I start to not post, it's like, well, it's not as good enough. It's not as worthy. It doesn't matter as much because I'm not getting that external validation, when really, like, I'm fucking proud of me. And I should be the only person that I'm worried about. Like, yes, it's nice to hear, but at the end of the day, if I feel like I'm doing a kick-ass job, that deserves a celebration, regardless of if it's private or public.
Period. Like, real quick, I realized that because literally every single year, New Year's Eve, I'm the type of bitch, I got photos on photos from like throughout the year, and I'm the one that's writing that long ass like inspirational paragraph on New Year's Eve, and how New Year's is going to be different, and the things I've learned and then like in the past year. And last year was the first time in so many fucking years that I didn't do that. And like I realized, I was like, well, why do I have to do that? I don't have to do that. I don't have to prove myself to people that I'm doing good. And like I used to do it like literally subconsciously for that reason. I was like, I'm trying to prove myself to people that I'm doing good, prove myself to people that I'm like worthy and I'm like making something in my life. I don't have to prove that shit to nobody but myself. And so I was like proud of myself. And now I don't like set out to do it. If I want to do it, that's cool, but I want to do it for the right reasons.
Yeah. But I think too, like for me, where that validation stems from. So in my childhood home in the garage, from when I was a sophomore in high school, there's these cabinets. Like you go in, you make a right, and there's these cabinets. There's like 4 or 5 of them. And I don't know why this is funny to me, but I have workout plans for Monday through Thursday.
Yeah.
And I just think about like how many times in my life I did that. Like I got this like new idea, and I was like, I'm gonna do this, and 2 weeks later, you know, you fall off. But
literally,
the thing that, you know, I think about from that time is I would be so excited to start something new, and I would get through week 1. And, you know, you and I had just had this conversation because I also struggle with binge eating disorder. And for the first time, I was almost 2 weeks, you know, binge free. And it was like 4 days prior to the 2-week mark. And I don't know why, and I don't know what happened, but I let myself go. And it really reminded me of my childhood, because during that almost 2-week mark, you know, I would say something like, I'm feeling really good, or I can't believe it's been almost 2 weeks. And as a kid and as a teenager, I would hear like, well, let's see if you stick it out. Let's see if you can make it to week 2. Let's see if you can make it to week 3. There was never any like, I'm so proud of you. I can't believe you made it to 2 weeks. You're definitely going to make it to 3. I can't wait to see how you feel. If I can help you with anything, let me know. There was never any loving guidance. It was just well, we'll see. Well, like a condescending, like, well, you never stick to it, so let's see if you'll actually stick to it this time.
I hear that shit all the time.
I know. And it's hard. And it's like, you know, the people that raise you, you want them to believe in you. You want them to advocate for you. You want them to root for you. And when you feel like you don't have that, you grow into somebody who doesn't know how to do it for themselves.
Shit. You're speaking my life story, bitch. Let me tell you.
I know.
I feel you. Like the other day, for me, like I lost like 8 pounds the other day, and I'll tell my mom, and she'll be like, "Cool, let's see how long you can stick to that." It's like, oh,
like you're already planting the seed of doubt.
Right. Like I literally, very few times in my life I've ever heard my mother say, "I'm proud of you." Let me say, my father was the one to always be like, "I'm proud of you, my daughter. You're beautiful. You're this or that." My dad was my hype man. Let me tell you. So when he died, that shit went out the window. It was just tough love all the time. At least when my dad was here, it was like a mix of the two, the tough love and like the soft love. But now it's just straight up tough love. And let me tell you, I have not heard like, "I'm proud of you," probably since fucking like what, 2017.
Do you see him?
I'm screaming.
He's fighting the fan. I'm like, what is he doing?
Stop.
He's fighting the fan. No, I definitely know what you mean. I had the same thing with my grandparents. Like my grandfather was, I mean, he was sly. Like when Max and I, we weren't even engaged yet. It was the year before we got engaged. And we went up the mountains for a family function. And all day long, like the morning, the afternoon, the night, Max was like almost like avoiding me, like just not acting himself, not, like he's not a very like public affection person, but like behind closed doors, he's very lovable and loving with me. And he just wasn't. And I'm like, what's wrong? Like, what's wrong? And finally, like, he finally told me, he was like, I don't want this to upset you, but you're the person I want to marry. And I want you to know what happened. But basically, like, my grandfather had gone up to him and he was like, you need to do something about her weight. Like it's just getting out of control. It's just, and he threw this whole fit, and Max felt so uncomfortable because he's like, at that point, like I had lost weight and Max loved me at my biggest and wanted me at my biggest. And it was like, for him to hear that was like, I love you and I accept you no matter what. And to know that the people in my life didn't, like, that kind of, I think, really shook him. Yeah. But growing up, it was the same way. Like my grandfather was very loving. He was very supportive, would come in my room, sit on my bed and talk to me and, comfort me when I was sad and advocate for me when no one else would. And, there's a disconnect right now in our relationship about this exact thing. Cause I had said to him, like, ever since I moved out 6 years ago, he's just been so distant. And he kind of made a passing comment like, well, you're married, you don't need me now. And I was like, he raised me. So in my mind, it's like a girl always needs her father figure. Just because I'm married doesn't mean that I don't crave, talking to you or venting to you or sharing pieces of my life with you that I did. And he just doesn't grasp that. And I just, it makes me sad because it makes me feel like I'm missing that he was my only like savior when I was a child. The only person that, even if he didn't feel it, or even if he was saying something behind my back, behind closed doors, he did make me feel loved and he did make me feel accepted. And he did, advocate for me when my grandmom said something nasty, because he always said there's a way to approach things. There's a way to make somebody feel. And when you grow up and you don't have that, or it changes because someone feels some type of way, like it's hard to accept. And I feel like the inner child in me is still craving that parent. And I talked about this a while ago. I think I posted it on TikTok, but I had said something along the lines of like, growing up, I was always waiting for someone to save me, someone to reach their hand out and tell me it was going to be okay. Tell me, that just that I was safe. I never felt safe. And I still struggle with feeling safe as an adult. But I realized that like, no one is coming now. I'm not a child anymore. And I know that I'm an adult and I know that I live and I breathe and I work as an adult, but that feeling inside of me, that feeling when it's like you're drowning, but you're not, you're treading lightly and you're waiting for that hand to pull you. Like there is no one else but you. People can help you along the way. People can advocate for you, but you have to be the first one to say, I'm struggling and I need help. You can't, you need someone to throw you that life support. And sometimes it has to be you because you just don't have anybody in your corner. And, the cards that I was dealt as a child, I could sit here and I could say, well, I'm going to be bitter and I'm going to hate the world and I'm going to continue this cycle in my family because that's what everybody else did. But I'm not. I cannot. And if you're sitting here and you're watching this and you're struggling, like, you are not alone, even if you feel alone. You have to be the one to say enough is enough and take that first step and ask for the help that you need, because no one can do that part for you. Yeah. So then the last question that I have is like, and you kind of touched on it, but it was, how and when did you start to shift your self-love talk into something that was more accepting and positive? Like, what was the straw that broke the camel's back where you were like, enough's enough?
Honestly, when I actually started, like, I think really, really putting in the effort into doing it, I would have to say probably like last year, like end of 2020 into last year was like when I really, really seriously like did it. Yeah. I feel like every time I shave my head, fun fact, I probably had like a whole like 2007 Britney Spears moment, like leading up to it, where I kind of had a mental breakdown. And to use like this most recent time as an example for me, when I shaved my head, it was like I was in a very bad space in my life where I was unhappy in my job. And more importantly, I wasn't happy with the woman that I've become. I wasn't happy with who I saw in the mirror and stuff like that. And for me, shaving my head kind of signifies it's a liberating act for me, where I feel unstoppable and I feel very strong and resilient. And I feel like if I'm bold enough to walk out in the world without, hair to distract from my facial features and everything, like I feel like there's nothing I can't do. You know what I mean? And I feel like, ironically enough, shaving my head and being in this, this look I got going right now, I feel like I've stepped into my femininity more than I had before, because like I'm a badass woman. You know what I mean? So for me, I think taking that, I've learned to love every inch and every like corner of me, as I am, which I feel like sometimes when I have like the extra distractions with makeup and hair and stuff like that, I feel like I take so much time covering and distracting from what's really going on. So that's what happened. Like end of 2020, I shaved my head. And I was just like, enough is enough, because I just hated everything about me. And I just kind of it was like a cry for help almost, but also at the same time, it was like I felt free and I felt released from the shackles of self-hate. So that's really where it came about for me in 2020. And I use Instagram as an outlet for that too. I use sharing my journey and kind of telling people how I was feeling. I'm a type of person to hop on Instagram stories and cry my heart out and start fucking cussing and popping off, because I've spent so many years voiceless and not expressing how I felt, that I was just tired of that shit. And like, even if people are just tapping through and not listening to me, I know at least one person is listening to me, and that meant the absolute fucking world to me. So that was literally and so that's kind of where I tapped into like my self-love and my body positivity, and really like learning myself enough to know that I am beautiful the way that I am, regardless, at 420 pounds, whatever it may be. I'm beautiful. I'm worthy 100%. Of love, even if I don't fucking feel like it.
100%.
Yeah. What about you?
Mine came in the most recent years, like last 2 years, I'd say. I kind of felt like I was dwindling away, like watching the days go by, watching the sun turn into darkness, and just living and existing and not doing anything. And it started to affect the relationship I had with myself and the relationship I had with other people, because like I was saying earlier, the avoidance. I was avoiding who I've become and what I looked like, and I was so angry. I was so angry with my father and the way that his life ended. And I was so angry with my mother's inability to be a mother. And I was so angry. And I was just like, I'm 24 years old and I have all of this rage inside of me. Like, I have to choose to let it go, or I'm going to probably die at a very young age due to stress. And the fact that I had all of these ideas and feelings that weren't even necessarily mine put in my head about who I should be and what my profession should be, what I should look like, what I should wear, what size I should be, where I should live, like everything. I just didn't know who I was anymore. I lost myself completely. And in losing myself, I was losing the relationships that felt the most important to me. And one of them was my marriage. Like, I was so uncomfortable to show my body, to go out to dinner. Like, Max would ask me all of the time, like, let's go do this, let's go do that, I really want to check this out. And I was such a bitch. I would put on such a front, and I was so nasty because I wasn't in my feminine era. I was never in my femininity up until this actual year, like within the last 2-3 months, I would say, like, I have really learned to lean on my husband and just like melt into his arms, because that is my safe space and he is my safe haven. But before, I felt so abandoned and so wounded and so angry that like I couldn't allow myself to be in that feminine energy, because I was so afraid that he would leave. And I was afraid to go out in public because I didn't feel comfortable, wearing the clothes that I had, whether even if it was sweatpants. I just felt so big. And the thing too is, like, growing up, like even my senior prom, I felt so beautiful. I got my hair done, my makeup done. I had a beautiful, beautiful gown, and I felt so gorgeous. And the last thing that was said to me before I drove off was, "You look as big as your car." And the whole night I was so worried that someone would comment on the back fat hanging over my dress, or the double chin that I have, or, the way that it cinches my stomach. Any comment about my body, I was so afraid, and it ruined my night, and I had such anxiety. So it's like, I had, my husband is thin. He's a smaller guy. And I was so afraid, even with people with his work, like he has a holiday party every year, and we've been together for 6 years, and I've refused every year to go because I don't want him to be made fun of for being with the fat girl. I don't know why. It's so emotional.
Breaks my heart.
So it's been a journey getting to a point where, like, I can just be myself. And, he is the only person in my life who has remained steady and consistent and reassured me that no matter what I look like, no matter where I am, no matter what my size is, he, like, even once he was like, "If you don't have any limbs, I'll still love you." Like, he's the only person that has made me, but it took me a long time to trust that. That when we got into our first fight and I spoke my truth, he wasn't going to turn around and be like, "Well, you're fat," because that is what every single man has done to me. If I disagreed with them, if I disobeyed them, if I spoke out of turn, if I spoke my truth and used my voice, my weight was the rebuttal, not their actions, not the way they made me feel, not the ownership that should have been taken from people who have hurt me. It's my weight. My weight has always been the topic of conversation. So the shift with me accepting it really started when I realized that Max is the only person in my life I don't want to lose. Well, aside from you and like my sister and stuff, but like the people that like, right. I didn't want my insecurities to hinder him and to stop him. But now it's like, we're the opposite. I'm like, "Let's go do this. Let's go do that." He's like, "No, I want to be home." But that was really what it was getting out of my own way and learning to let the man love me because I deserved it. Because I was worthy of it. And that was something that I couldn't do. And I don't want to be that cliche girl that like, "Oh, a man made me do it." But when you have something and someone so special in your life, and there was never an ultimatum, there was never, "Oh, if you don't," like, I just realized that like the passions that he had and the hobbies that he had and things that he liked to do, he wasn't doing anymore. And it wasn't because he wanted to do them. It was because he wanted to do them with the person he loved, and she didn't want to do it. And he didn't want to leave me home alone. And that's sad. And he never, ever once complained. And he never, ever once, said that to me. But you pay attention to the people you love. And I realized that that was happening. And also around that time, like, I really became empowered. Like I was saying earlier about the cycle breaking. I didn't want to be a product of my environment. I didn't want to be the girl that let everybody speak her truth. The girl that, hid in the shadows because she was afraid to, dance like no one was watching. So I just really wanted to live a happier life with a happier marriage where I could laugh with my husband and just be myself. And that's what I'm learning to do every day. And every day it's not easy. And there's times where I want to run and I want to hide and I want to lash out on him, but I don't or sometimes I do. But I really try not to, because he doesn't deserve that. And I deserve to live a life like the TikToker, she's on Instagram too. Her name's Alicia. And I can't remember her last name, but she became really, really popular.
I think maybe.
Yes. And her husband is Scott. Okay. Yes. Or Scotty, like whatever they call them. Like, I admire her. and her bravery so much for putting her life out there and being someone that women can look up to, because it is hard being a plus size woman and dating and getting a job and being in a marriage. And there's so many fears for so many people that come with it. And when you can sit there and you can own it and you can create this platform for other women to want to do the same thing, that is powerful. Women are powerful. And that is really what Hustling Honeys is to us. We want to be the platform that helps people realize that they are worthy no matter what the hell's going on, no matter where they are, no matter what their size is, what their clothes is, all of it.
Yeah. No, that was good.
That was really good. Do you have any like closing things you want to say?
Honestly, I'm just excited for like where this is gonna go, like I feel like this first episode, it was a really good conversation. And even though we went off topic, they were all valid and they were all relevant, I think, to what we're trying to make Hustlin' Honeys. And I don't know, I just love that. I can't wait to do this once a week with you. This is gonna be
me too. I felt like it was session. Like a mini therapy set. Yes,
it literally
I really did. Like, and even though like I feel like I'm probably gonna cry after this just because a lot of stuff came up, like I just feel I'm gonna cry again. I feel so safe with you, like just to share the things that I struggle with. So thank you for being that person and that friend, because I definitely feel a lot better. Like, it's hard bringing this stuff up because I don't like to think about it and I like to pretend it doesn't exist. But like tonight made, healing one step easier and one step closer, because our truth and our story and the things that we struggle with, like, they deserve to be told, and we deserve to heal them and have a healthy, happy life where, we learn from the things that we went through, and we are great mothers and role models and wives one day because of the things that we've gone through and because we took the time to talk about them and heal them.
Right. And like, thank you so much for being vulnerable and for being you. Like, I know I'm one tough cookie. It's very hard to get me to cry. And it's crazy because, like, trust me, I used to be able to cry on a dime. And I think, throughout some of the things that have happened, like pretty recently in my life, I kind of like harden up and I don't allow myself to show emotion, but I'm sure we're going to get it from me one of these days. But thank you so much for being always vulnerable and for being you. And I know, like, you hate when you start crying, but I love it. I love, I'm not saying I love seeing you cry, but like, it's just so real to me, like, you're so relatable and I just love it. It just shows who you are as a woman, and it's strong. I say any woman that's able to show emotion like that, they're the strongest bitch out there. So
thank you.
It's an honor.
And you are too.
Thank you.
The last thing I have myself on mute because they're going crazy. I think a dog walked by. Max is like, stop. The last thing I want to say is, like, I was so focused, just like you were. Can you hear her?
Kind of, but it's not like that distracting.
Okay, cool. So that, like, for so long I was only focused on the weight loss. Like, if I wasn't seeing the scale move or the measurements change or the progress photos look different, I thought I wasn't making progress as a woman, as, someone who was trying to achieve a goal. But when we think about where we were, when we started this, whether it was when we were 16 and forced to, or the last 2 years, when you look at the journey as a whole, progress isn't just on the outside. It's the way that you are growing and feeling on the inside. It's the way that your vulnerability shows. It's the way that you hold yourself accountable. It's the way that you carry yourself, the way you speak to other people when you're angry, when you're sad, when you're in a good mood. It's so much more than the physical aspect. So if you're sitting here and you're resonating with this and you're listening to this and you're beating yourself up because you're not where you want to be, look at the little details, look at the small moments and the small pieces that make you who you are, because it is so much more than the way you look on the outside.
100%.
You are worthy no matter what you look like, the color of your skin, the hair on your head, the shape of your body, what people say about you. Those things do not define your worthiness. If you are living and you are breathing, you are fucking worthy of every single thing that you want in this life.
Exactly.
So I'm really happy with the way that tonight went. Like I loved our podcast on Monday that got lost in cyberspace, but I think that this was better than I could have imagined.
100% better. It feels more natural. I think the first one was a good trial in the sense that we got the awkwardness out, but I feel like we're a lot more natural tonight. Like I feel
definitely
like
agree.
We're naturals at this. I feel like
we're just like pop stars.
Yeah, look at us.
Love it.
Good Morning America worthy.
Good Morning America worthy. And on that note, we hope you guys have a great night. Thank you for tuning in and watching and listening. And we cannot wait for next week.
Exactly. All right. Have a good night.